Well, the mansion heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson once called home is undergoing a huge makeover. The Trumbull County property was donated to the Living Word Sanctuary Church a few years back. The property had been abandoned for some time, and since then, the church has been cleaning it up. It now hopes to open a place of worship inside by the end of the year.
Where the renovation of Mike Tyson's former mansion is almost finished, and much of the work done by church members. Brandon Simmons gives us an exclusive look inside.
I want to heal myself, and that's going to take a lot of struggling. It's going to take a lot of thinking.
Have you ever wondered what kind of homes famous athletes own? You might think they have the most extravagant and luxurious estates, but that's not always the case. Sometimes even the most successful athletes end up with properties that come with eerie histories or strange reputations. Mike Tyson, for example, bought a mansion that was rumored to be cursed. In this video, we'll take a closer look at his infamous Ohio estate and the story behind it. Mike Tyson's mansion falls apart. Imagine a grand mansion hidden away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life that once belonged to the famous boxer Mike Tyson. This mansion wasn't just any house, it was a reflection of Tyson's bold personality and his immense wealth at the time. Tyson, at the peak of his boxing career, lived a life of extravagance, earning huge sums of money from his victorious fights. It made perfect sense for him to own such a lavish home, sprawling over a large area with all kinds of luxurious features that only someone truly wealthy could afford. This home was more than a place to live. It symbolized Tyson's success in boxing and his glamorous life outside the ring. Back in 1999, Tyson decided it was time to sell this Ohio mansion. He sold it to a man named Paul M. for $1.3 million. At that time, the sale looked like a good deal, but it quickly led to problems. After taking over the mansion, Paul M., who was quite wealthy then, seemed to enjoy the opulent lifestyle that the mansion offered. However, his financial success didn't last long. By 2007, Paul M. found himself in deep trouble, ending up with a 13-year sentence in federal prison for money laundering. This was just the start of a recurring cycle for the mansion. Periods of wealth followed by times of decline and neglect. By 2015, the once magnificent mansion had become a shadow of its former self. It was now just an abandoned structure behind gates, slowly falling apart. This place, which had once been alive with high-profile parties and served as a getaway for the rich and famous, was now just a rundown shell. The pool was empty, the vast living spaces were silent and deserted, and the once grand marble jacuzzi now sported an anarchy symbol, a mark of vandalism. It was a sad sight, a stark reminder of the change in fortunes of those who had lived there. Despite this, the mansion found a new life when it was purchased by an unnamed buyer for $600,000 in 2015, a steep drop from its previous value. The new owner didn't hold on to it for long and soon donated it to the Living Word Sanctuary, a church that saw potential in the rundown property. The church faced its own challenges with the mansion, however. Before they could start turning it into a place of worship, they had to clear $50,000 in back taxes. The estimated cost to completely restore the mansion was projected at over $7 million. Despite this, the Living Word Sanctuary managed to refurbish the estate on a much smaller budget. They adopted a minimalistic approach, transforming the large living rooms into spaces for worship, converting the guest bedrooms into children's rooms, and landscaping the back patio for future weddings. While the mansion no longer served as the extravagant venue it was during Tyson's time, the church's simple yet effective renovations made the mansion functional and inviting once again. Reflecting on Tyson's life when he first bought the mansion, everything seemed to be going his way. He had just scored a significant victory over Trevor Berbick in a fight that lasted only 2 rounds, making him the youngest heavyweight champion ever. Tyson walked away from that fight with a cool $1.5 million, while Berbick took home $700,000. Following that, Tyson's career trajectory continued to soar. He remained unbeaten for a long time, earning escalating sums for each fight: $10 million, $20 million, and eventually $30 million. At the height of his career, Tyson had earned a staggering $300 million just from boxing. Let's take a closer look at this mansion and its various phases. Initially, it was a symbol of success and luxury, mirroring Tyson's public persona and private indulgences. Later, as it passed through different owners, including Paul M., it witnessed periods of decline that mirrored their own financial and legal struggles. The church's acquisition and renovation of the mansion is a story of transformation and redemption, turning a once decadent space into a community-centered place of worship. Church brings Tyson's mansion back. Such transformations are not just about changing the physical space, but also about giving a new purpose and direction to what was once a symbol of personal achievement and excess. The church's efforts to refurbish the mansion on a limited budget, focusing on what was truly necessary, reflect a broader lesson on resourcefulness and vision. They saw beyond the decay and the history of decline, envisioning a future where the space could serve a greater good. Now, the mansion stands not only as a place of worship, but also as a community hub, hosting weddings and serving as a gathering place for children and families. This change marks a significant shift from its past, turning a private luxury into a public asset. It's a powerful example of how places can evolve and be repurposed to better serve community needs. Looking back at the mansion's history, from Tyson's purchase to its current status, it's a narrative filled with ups and downs, reflecting the complexities of wealth, fame, and redemption. It's a reminder that even places with a troubled past can find new life and new purpose through vision and hard work. The story of Tyson's mansion is not just about the rise and fall of wealth, but also about the possibilities of renewal and change. What was once a private escape for the wealthy is now a place where anyone can find solace and community, a truly inspiring turnaround. With all the cash he had, it wasn't a shock that Tyson snagged a bunch of fancy houses, some even rumored to be haunted. His big bucks came from his knockout success in boxing, and he didn't hesitate to splash out on stuff that most folks can only dream about. His collection included some seriously swanky mansions that were like symbols of the wild spending back in the day. If you've ever watched a scary movie, you know that when it comes to hauntings, people usually call in a priest. That's pretty much the main idea behind the whole Conjuring movie series. So imagine if a priest could clear out a house of its spooky vibes. What about a whole church? That might have been what the new owners of Tyson's old pad were thinking. But who really knows? Even after a church took over, Tyson's other place in Connecticut still got a lot of attention for its spooky rep. Back in 2015, this other Tyson place in Connecticut was left empty. The only decorations were big posters of a famous rapper, but nobody was interested in buying. Both of these former luxury spots, the Ohio House and the Connecticut Estate, seemed to bring bad luck to just about anyone who tried to settle there. It all started with one of the top boxers of the 80s, and the dark tales about these places just grew over time. That estate in Connecticut was known for throwing some of the wildest parties you could imagine. We're talking about huge, fancy gatherings with over 700 celebs showing up for birthday parties. The place hosted all sorts of bashes, after parties, just because parties, and it even had a stint as home to one of Tyson's wildest pets, a white tiger worth $700,000. Yep, the rumors were true. Tyson actually had a tiger. Actually, he had 3, and he reportedly dropped a ton of cash on pigeons too. His spending was legendary. The Connecticut mansion itself was huge. It stretched over 50,000 square feet and had 19 bedrooms and 25 bathrooms. For any celebrity, this place was the definition of luxury. It had an indoor nightclub, a casino, a home theater, a pool hall, a helipad, pools inside and out, and basketball courts both indoors and outdoors. The house was a total show-off piece, decked out in white and red, with a stunning back veranda and a lawn that was always picture-perfect. Marble floors led to 2 spiral staircases that just oozed fancy vibes. If you were looking to show the world you were rolling in dough, this was the place to do it. Tyson's mansions haunted his life. However, despite all the opulence and the status those homes represented, Tyson's life started to crumble. On June 11, 2005, he went up against Kevin McBride in a fight that took everyone by surprise. Considering Tyson once bit off part of Evander Holyfield's ear during a match, you know this bout was something else. In the 7th round, Tyson just stopped fighting. He looked worn out, both physically and mentally. The sport had taken its toll after years of issues with the law, public scandals, and several divorces. It was clear then that Iron Mike was no longer the fierce competitor he once was. Tyson's reputation as a fighter was built on his fierce, almost unstoppable style in the ring. But outside the ring, his life was filled with ups and downs that were just as intense as his fights. From the height of his fame and fortune to the depths of his struggles, Tyson's story is one of extreme highs and lows. His spending on homes was just one part of his larger-than-life lifestyle. But those homes, especially the haunted ones, seemed to echo the turbulence of his personal life. The bigger and more extravagant the house, the more intense the stories that seemed to follow. These homes weren't just buildings, they became symbols of Tyson's wild ride through life. The tales of hauntings and bad luck didn't deter everyone, though. Some were drawn to these houses precisely because of their connection to Tyson and their eerie reputations. Despite their past, or maybe because of it, these mansions held a certain fascination. Looking back, Tyson's story, from his peak as a boxing legend to his quieter days now, is a testament to his resilience. The man who once dominated the sport with his power and aggression now shows a different side of himself. These days, Tyson is more likely to be seen sharing stories of his past struggles and victories, offering insights into his life and the lessons he's learned. From haunted mansions to tales of extravagant spending and epic parties, Tyson's story is about more than just boxing. It's about the highs and lows of a life lived in the spotlight and the personal growth that can come from experiencing both. His story continues to captivate, reminding us of the complex tapestry that fame and fortune can weave. Many years after a particularly tough match, Mike Tyson shared that he was nowhere near his prime during that fight and felt he had no shot at winning. He was honest about his reasons for fighting. It was all for the money. The paycheck was a hefty one. Tyson walked away with around $30 million for just that one match. Considering his past, where he'd earned over $300 million and had big money deals with sponsors, you might wonder if the money from this fight was worth it, especially since it could damage his reputation even more. At the time, though, it seemed Tyson needed that cash injection. Physically, Tyson wasn't in top shape, and neither were his finances. By the time of the fight, he was bankrupt. It came out that he was more than $23 million in debt. How does a guy blow through so much cash? Well, the stories floating around show a guy who couldn't keep his ego or spending in check. They say Tyson spent millions on fancy cars he never drove and massive houses he never really lived in. There's even this wild story about him walking into a BMW dealership and buying every single car they had just to show off how rich he was. Carrying such a heavy debt load, Tyson's financial life was in a free fall. He went from being celebrated as one of the greatest in the sports world to spending his days feeding pigeons at his home in Paradise Valley, Arizona. When you think about it, that's a mindset that leads someone to walk away from their mansions when they can't afford to keep them up anymore. Lots of folks buy these huge homes without fully grasping the ongoing costs. These places aren't just a one-time buy. They need a whole crew to keep them running smoothly. And when the money stops, so does the care for these homes. 50 Cent's mansion trouble. Tyson eventually found a way to dig himself out of these money troubles, but it meant he had to let go of some of his properties. Who bought one of them? Curtis Jackson, better known as 50 Cent. Back in 2003, the rapper scooped up Tyson's mansion in Connecticut for $4 million. This sprawling estate, with its 50,000 square feet and more than 50 rooms, seemed like it was a good move for 50 Cent at first. But just like Tyson, 50 Cent's financial fortunes would eventually turn sour. By 2015, the bad luck that seemed to cling to Tyson's former mansion had caught up with 50 Cent too. After going big on spending and running into tax problems, 50 Cent found himself over $20 million in debt and had to file for bankruptcy. He tried selling the mansion, first listing it for $18.5 million, but after a whopping 12 years trying to sell it, he ended up letting it go for just $2.9 million, a fraction of what he paid. It looks like both Tyson and 50 Cent have bounced back from their financial lows. Tyson has gotten back into boxing and managed to rebuild some of his wealth, now sitting on an estimated $10 million. As for 50 Cent, he's found success again with his popular TV show *Power* and its spin-offs, boosting his net worth back up to $52 million. Still, the memories of those doomed mansions linger. Even today, you can see Tyson's name on the gates of his old mansion in Ohio, a reminder of a past era. Have you ever wondered how much the value of a house might decrease if it's considered cursed? It's a curious question, especially when you know that houses can lose anywhere from 15 to 25% of their value due to violent incidents. If that's the case with violence, imagine the impact when a house is rumored to carry a curse. What kind of price drop are we talking about then? The stories of Mike Tyson and 50 Cent serve as a stark warning about how fast fortunes can change. Both celebrities saw their wealth evaporate, connected through financial disasters linked to the very same property. This odd connection serves as a reminder of how what seems like a solid investment can suddenly turn sour, transforming what looked like a surefire profit into a financial sinkhole. The concept of a cursed property might sound like it belongs in a horror movie, but for Tyson and 50 Cent, it was an all-too-real scenario. They both experienced enormous financial losses and had to fight hard to recover from debt. It's a vivid illustration of how the glamorous life can come with major risks. This makes you ponder whether buying such lavish properties is stepping into a fantasy or a potential financial trap. When the topic comes up of a mansion's value dropping because it's reputedly cursed, it raises some interesting points. Consider the effect on its price tag. Properties aren't just buildings. They're places full of history and countless stories. When you label a house as cursed, it's not just a tag, it's a warning sign that can scare off potential buyers or invite those intrigued by its ominous reputation. Tyson and 50 Cent's experiences underline how quickly wealth can disappear, demonstrating that high-risk investments like luxury estates can backfire spectacularly. While owning a grand mansion is a symbol of success, the financial burden can be overwhelming, particularly if the property has a notorious backstory that might deter future buyers. For Tyson, the idea of a cursed mansion wasn't just superstition, it was part of his reality. His financial downfall, tied to extravagant spending on properties he could hardly afford, is a lesson in financial prudence. Similarly, 50 Cent's story from booming success to bankruptcy, partly due to his acquisition of Tyson's cursed mansion, shows how fortunes in the entertainment industry can fluctuate wildly. The decline in property value due to a curse might seem hard to quantify, but it's clear that such a stigma could lead to significant losses. If violence can slash a property's value by up to a quarter, a curse, depending on public perception and media portrayal, might result in even greater depreciation. It's a fascinating aspect of real estate that combines finance with folklore. What's more, the cultural implications of owning a cursed property can vary widely. In some cultures, the notion of a curse is taken very seriously, potentially making a house unsellable. In others, it might add a layer of intrigue that could attract a particular niche of buyers. If you enjoyed the video, click like and subscribe to the channel. For more interesting videos like this one, don't miss watching the next one that pops up on your screen right now.